Fill the gaps, please, brothers. Any gaps in front of us, inshallah, fill the gaps. Put the phones away, please, brothers, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi. Wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu subhanahu wa ta'ala fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu. نشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا وكريمنا وسندنا وأولانا ومولانا وهادينا وطبيب قلوبنا وقرة أعيننا ونور أبصارنا محمدا عبده ورسوله أرواحنا وأرواح آبائنا وأمهاتنا فداه صلى الله تبارك وتعالى عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه وذرياته وأهل بيته وعترته وأولاده وأصحابه وأنصاره وأصحاره وأشياعه وأتباعه وأحبابه ومحبيه وأمته وعلى كل من اتبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وعلينا معهم أجمعين آمين يا رب العالمين. Respected elders, brothers and friends, we are all travelers in this world. We've come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we will return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we've all come with a transit visa from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One Urdu poet said, Na malum zindagi, na malum kis gali mein zindagi ki sham ho jaye. I don't know where the sun of my life will set. So some people read it, Na malum kis ghari mein zindagi ki sham ho jaye. I don't know when the sun of my life will set. The ulama-i-kiram, they say both readings are correct. Where and when we are going to die, only Allah Ta'ala knows. But we are definitely going to die. Hazrat Maulana Umar Parampuri Sahib Rahmatullah used to say that when his house was being renovated, then his elder brother, he said, make the door wide. So they said, why? So they said, because so that the janazah, the funeral bier can be carried out. So Maulana was young at that time. He said, Bhai Sahib, it's a happy occasion. We're building a house and you're talking about janazah? He said, Maulana, janazah to uthega. We're going to die. Death is going to come to us. And you got to prepare for it. So we have all come, brothers, with a transit visa from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When that will expire, only Allah Ta'ala knows. And in the meantime, Allah Ta'ala has given us an opportunity to prepare for the life of the hereafter, which is the eternal life, which is a never-ending life, and once we go there, there's no coming back. This is what life is all about. Preparation for the life of the hereafter. Once, some years ago, my daughter came home from madrasa, and I said to her, trying to be a good parent, Mahmoud Bhai, I said, what did you do today? So she said, we did a word search. I said, oh, did you enjoy? I like word search. Did you enjoy it? She goes, yeah. She goes, but then she frowned. She said, but there was one bit of it which was very hard. I said, what was that? She said, I was finding it difficult to find Allah. The word Allah. I was struggling to find Allah. I said, Beti, we're all in the same boat. We're all in the same boat. The purpose of our life, Allah Ta'ala sent us into this world to find Him, to recognize Him, so that we can subjugate ourselves to Him and we can worship Him and we can earn His pleasure. This is the purpose of our life. Hazrat Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, our dear Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, gave an example which I will tell in my own words, the mafhum of the hadith. He said there's a person, he's a farmer, he's got some land and he wants it plowed. So he goes out looking for a laborer after Fajr Namaz. He finds someone and he asks him that, will you plow my land for me? I'll pay you 50 pounds. So the guy agrees. So now he starts plowing the land from Fajr right up to Zohar. So it's a long period and the sun starts rising and it starts getting hotter and hotter and hotter. By Zohar time the person is completely exhausted. The farmer says to him, the work's not finished, can you please stay on longer? He said no. He said, I'll pay you more. He said no. So he takes the 50 pounds and off he goes. Now the farmer, after Zohar, he goes looking for another laborer. He finds someone and they agree the terms, 50 pounds again. Now the person is plowing the land from Zohar to Asr, which is still a long time, but shorter than the first person. And the sun is at its peak. So he's working now in the scorching heat and very arduous work. And then come around Asr time, he gets exhausted, and then he abandons everything, takes the 50 pounds and goes. Then there's still a little bit of work left. So the farmer, in his desperation, finds somebody and says to him, please, can you do this for me? He said, no, I don't really want to. He said, listen, I'll pay you 200. So he agrees. So now this person, in the coolness, because by Asr time, the sun's about to set, so it's cooler, and it's just a short period between Asr and Maghrib, and he does the work. He does less work than the other two, and he gets paid more than the other two. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, this is the example of my ummah. My ummah has come at the end. The age of my ummah is less. We have to strive and struggle less than other ummahs. Other ummahs for hundreds of years, they have to try and stay on the straight and narrow. They have to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they got rewarded less. And for us, because we are the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah ta'ala has given us a short time, very short life. أعمار أمتي ما بين 60 و70 وأقلهم يجوز ذلك. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the average age of my ummah is between 60 and 70 years, and there will be very few who will surpass that. Very few. No matter what the experts say, and they say, no, life expectancy. Somebody had an argument with me, he said, life expectancy has increased. I said, yeah, I expect to live to 100 as well. Expectancy has increased. Everyone expects the whole world. But life longevity has not increased. No matter what they say, go to a Qabristan and do the average, mean, mode and median, work it out. I've done this so many times. It always comes, Sadaqallahu wa Sadaqa Rasuluh, always comes to between 60 and 70 years. That's the average age of this ummah. Until Qiyamah it will be the same. Doesn't matter how many vitamins you pop, doesn't matter how much you bench and how much you go to the gym and how much you run and how well you eat. Yes, we have to look after our bodies, but at the end of the day, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, prepare for the life of the hereafter, because definitely death is coming, and we all have to enter into the life of the hereafter. But because we are from the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah Ta'ala has blessed us with short lives. We've got to work less, but the reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is huge. And Hazrat Hafiz Patel Sahib used to say that if we strive in this world, in this short life of ours for a short time, then Allah Ta'ala, what He will give us, we cannot even begin to imagine. He used to say that एक गश के ऊपर जो मिलेगा, एक गश के ऊपर जो मिलेगा, अगर अल्लाह ताला दिखा दे तो हमारे कलेजे फट जाए. What we will get for one jawla, one gush. You know what is our gush? We go, we get a card, we go knocking on the door, 10 houses, 8 houses, nobody opens. 9th house, a woman opens, brother's not in. 10th house, the kid opens. Is your dad in? Yeah, go call him. He comes back after a while. He says, my dad said my dad's not in. Chalo, let's astaghfir, go back to the masjid. This is our gush. But our elders, they say that even this, in that there is so much effect. Because you have sacrificed your health. You've sacrificed your valuable Saturday afternoon. You've sacrificed your pleasures and your leisure for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Today you are doing gush in the streets of Leicester, and the effect of it is falling somewhere else. Somebody somewhere is getting hidayat because somebody somewhere is giving sacrifice. Many times, we have our revert friends, many times when you ask them, sometimes they say, yeah, okay, such and such invited me, but in many cases, when you ask them, how did you become Muslim? They say, it just came in my heart one day. I was just watching the news and I thought, all this is nonsense, it's false propaganda, Muslims are good people, Islam must be a good religion, I studied it and I accepted it. It just came in my heart. No, brother, it didn't just come in your heart. Somebody was walking the streets of Leicester in the pouring rain, saying, Ya Allah, climbing the hill, and upon that Allah Ta'ala was giving you hidayat. This is how Allah Ta'ala works. Because Allah Ta'ala is a hadi, Allah Ta'ala is a giver of hidayat. Allah Ta'ala expects from us that we make some kind of effort. And if we make that effort, if we put ourselves into the furnace, we give up our creature comforts, we give up our holidays, we give up our orthopedic mattress, we give up our masala dosas and our nice food at home, and we go in the path of Allah and we endure some difficulty, then Allah Ta'ala has got in store for us such things that we can't even imagine. Upon one gush, Hafiz Sahib Rahmatullahi used to say, one gush, agar Allah Ta'ala dikha de, ek gush pe kya milega, hamare kaleje phat jaye. Our hearts would not be able to contain that. Why? Because this world is not a place where a person's desires can be fulfilled. It's limited. Musa alayhi salam had a friend who was in dire straits, much difficulty. Musa alayhi salam used to feel sorry for him, but every time he used to ask him how are you, he used to say Alhamdulillah. He said, listen, I'm going to talk to Allah. Do you have any requests? He said, no, Alhamdulillah, I'm okay. But Musa alayhi salam knew that this person is suffering. Then there came a point where the person, he just couldn't handle the problems he had. So when Musa alayhi salam asked him on this one occasion, because he was a Mu'min, he was a very pious person, he asked him, he said, Musa, you're going to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, please tell him that now is too much. I can't tolerate, I can't bear it anymore. Please tell Allah to change my situation, send His help and remove some of these afflictions. So Musa alayhi salam said, definitely I'll put in a request for you. So Musa alayhi salam went to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he spoke to him. Then at the end, Musa alayhi salam said, Ya Allah, my friend, he's suffering so much illnesses and poverty and all this sort of stuff. So Ya Allah, please, now it's been many years, he's so subservient to you and he's doing all his ibadah and everything, he's obedient to you and you've kept him in this dire straits. So Ya Allah, please change his situation. Please give him something. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, oh Musa, shall I give him a lot or shall I give him a little? So Musa alayhi salam thought, if Allah is offering, jab rahmat ke dahane khul gaye hai, when Allah ta'ala has opened up his doors, then why not? So he said, oh Allah, give him a lot. He said, are you sure? He said, yeah Allah, please. So Allah ta'ala said, okay Musa, go back, maine usko mala mal kar diya. I've endowed him, don't worry. I'm going to bless him with lots. So Musa alayhi salam got that happy. And Musa alayhi salam headed back and he thought that I'll go and give him the good news. So when he went to his house, knocked on his door, the son came out. He said, can you call your dad? He said, he just passed away. He said, what? He said, he just passed away. He said, when? He said, within the last hour or so. So Musa alayhi salam couldn't understand. So he went back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, Ya Allah, you said you're going to give him a lot. And then you just took him. He said, oh Musa, the world is limited. For me to endow him and bless him with the best, I had to take him from this world. Hazrat Maulana Umar Palanpur Sahib Rahmatullah used to say, तुम दुनिया में दीन की मेहनत करो, दुनिया में नेमतों की बूंदा बांदी होगी और जन्नत में नेमतों की मूसलाधार बारिश होगी. He said that make the effort of deen, strive out in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, go through the sacrifices and there will be a pitter-patter of the ni'mats of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this world. Allah ta'ala will endow you much in this world, but it'll seem like pitter-patter, drizzle. When you get in the akhirat, compared to that, it'll seem like nothing. But Allah Ta'ala will continuously keep on dropping things into your lap, into your life. Why? Because you're doing the effort of deen. You're helping the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're propagating and protecting the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rest assured, Allah Ta'ala's help will come. Allah Ta'ala will endow you in wonderful and mysterious ways that you can't even imagine. And then when we get into the akhirat, he used to say that Jannat mein ne'maton ki musladhar barish hogi. There will be a monsoon of ni'mats, one after the other. Allah Ta'ala will continue blessing a person. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, the person who will be in the lowest standard of Jannat, lowest standard, he will have 1,000 palaces. Say Subhanallah, brothers. In Ramzan we do Bayan, talking about Jannat, and like, everyone's like zombie mode. भाई रोता क्यों है? रोता नहीं, मेरे चेहरा ही ऐसा है. Why are you crying? My face is like that. So I said, brother, come on man, say Subhanallah. He says, some guys still don't say, it's like you got rosa and it's like press-ups for the lips, isn't it? Can't do that. Bhai, at least smile, man. He's talking about Jannat. Then I said to in one place, I said, bhai, don't think. One guy said to me, Gazamni book like it, I'm starving. And you're telling me to say Subhanallah. I wasn't even coming your bayan. My wife put a curfew on the TV. And then she took my phone off me, curfew on the phone. I had nothing to do. So I came to the masjid. And I just sat in the bayan. And now you're expecting me to interact. It's too much for me. I'm out of here. So we say, bhai, don't think about the kebab. Think about the sawab. Think about what Allah Ta'ala is going to give us. Musladhar barish is going to be a monsoon of ni'mats, one after the other. Allah Ta'ala is going to continue endowing us in Jannat. Why? Because we put ourselves through difficulty in this world. Allah Ta'ala knows that we'd rather be at home with our wife, with our kids. We'd rather be earning the dunya. Everyone wants a nice car, nice house, nice job, nice money in the bank account, money under the mattress account. Money everywhere stashed away. Everyone wants to be rich, but Allah Ta'ala knows that those people who sacrifice that for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, one thing is going to suffer in your life. Either your dunya will suffer or your akhirat will suffer. One thing is going to lose out. It's not going to happen that both things are going to be like top notch, high grade. If you go for the deen, your dunya will suffer to some extent. If on the other hand you want to become a millionaire and you want to be a first saf musalli, it's not going to happen. 4 months every year and I want to be a billionaire, it's not going to happen. Something is going to compromise. But when a person compromises his dunya and the comforts of the dunya, then Allah Ta'ala will bless him with such ni'mas. And when Jannat is described in the hadith, the ulama kiram tell us that it's usually the lowest standard that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam describes. Why? Because the highest standards cannot even be described and contemplated. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, lowest standard of Jannat, the person will get 1,000 palaces. And the distance between each palace will be a journey of 1 year. And yet he will be able to stand on the balcony of one palace and see the furthest palace as clearly as he can see the one right next to him. And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, this palace will be so long, it will, the distance between Al-Jabiya, which is in Syria, and there's a place in Yemen called Sana'a. He said, the length of that palace will be equal to the distance between Al-Jabiya and Sana'a, which comes to more than 2,000 kilometers long and 60 miles high. And every palace will have 60,000 rooms. And then you think to yourself, okay, it'll be like the dunya. Somebody comes and Masa, I bought a new house. You already have the house. Yeah, Masa, a bigger house. Okay, the family was struggling a bit. So there was only 4 bedrooms here. So now I've got a 7-bedroom house. So mashallah, mashallah, Allah parwa nasib kare. They say, Masa, you need to come down. So usually Maulvi Sahibs will tell you that there's only 2 occasions when they take the Maulvi Sahib to the house. One is when they first move in to get rid of the hocus pocus and chase the jinn away. Yeah? And then if there's a problem thereafter, then they call the Maulvi Sahib as well. Masab come and the jinns will run away. Why am I that ugly? Just gonna run away. So he said, Masab, come down. So you're going along, you're driving along, he's saying, and he's talking about his house and he's describing it. And you're thinking, 7 bedrooms, mashallah, it must be big. But you get there and you look at it and you think, okay, all that. Then he gives you a guided tour. So one bedroom he shows you, that's a master bedroom, mashallah, big size, got double bed in there. Second one, smaller. Third one, even smaller. Fourth one, you can't even fit a bed in. I'm thinking, bhai, apne mulk mein to usko closet kehte hai, bhai. You call that a closet, it's not a bedroom. Yeah? So somebody might think 60,000 rooms, so there'll be like some big and then some very small. So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, this palace will have 60,000 rooms and every room will have 60,000 doors leading in and out of it. And we should think that this is mine. Because I'm living the right life, I'm making a preparation for it. And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, the lowest level of Jannati, his palaces will be made from ruby, and from emerald, and from pearl, carved out of pearl. Even the padlocks and the keys and all the furniture will be carved out of pearl. And inside there, when he goes in there, he will find a hur. Everyone's favorite topic. And the hur will be so beautiful that he will be able to see his face in her cheek. He will put his hand behind her back and he will be able to see through her clothes, through her body, he will be able to see his hand. She'll go so beautiful that if she goes in front of a dead man, the dead man will come back to life. He's woken up. He was sleeping up to now. Allah. She is so beautiful that if she was to spit into the oceans of the world, all the oceans of the world, the water will become sweet. If we collected all the sugar and all the honey of the world today and we poured it into the oceans, even then we would not succeed in making the oceans sweet. And yet her few milliliters of her spit. And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, he will go to her, he will sit with her, he will cohabit with her. When he turns away, he just looks her away. When he looks back, she'll have become 70 times more beautiful. Smile, brothers. This is all true. And this is waiting for us. But we have to make the effort for it. We have to make the effort for it. So Hazrat Hafiz Sahib used to say, if Allah just showed us the ni'mats. In one riwayat it says that when a person is dying, the angels come down, 500 angels come down for the average person. But there have been accounts where 70,000 angels came down for a person. Hazrat Sa'ad bin Mu'adh radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, when he passed away, when his soul left the body, so much effort he had made and so close to Allah that he was, ihtazza bihil arsh. that the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shook when his soul left the body, out of excitement that my son is coming home. 70,000 angels came down. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam went into the house, into the room where his body lay, and he was tiptoeing, walking very carefully. And he stood there for a long time. Eventually he sat down. Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, why did you tiptoe? The angels had come down in such abundance that I hardly had anywhere to walk. Why did you not sit down? Because there was nowhere to sit. Then an angel moved its wing, and then I found space and I sat down. These are real people, real achievers. So Allah Ta'ala has kept all of that in store for us if we make the correct effort now. So this one riwayat, it said that when a person is dying, Allah Ta'ala sends 500 angels. One of the angels comes, the angel of death comes with the silk and white cloth of Jannah. And inside it has the musk of Jannah. And then he places it under the dying person's chin and opens it up. And as the person is breathing it in, smelling it, taking in the fragrance, the angels extract his ruh. One Maulana, one Sheikh, he passed away. So he was a very pious individual. So there was a woman who used to listen to his talks and follow him. So she was heartbroken because he died suddenly. So she kept on praying for him and crying. And many days passed like that. So one night she was crying, she was so distraught, and she fell asleep. So in her dream, the Maulana came. I said, why are you crying? Oh, Pagli, roti kyun hai? Why are you being so silly? Why are you crying for me? Don't cry for me. Don't cry for me. She said, Maulana, you left us and you had a heart attack. He said, listen, you know what happened? I just finished the Bayan. I was going to my room and two angels came to me. And one of them was holding a flower, the likes of which I had never seen before, massive flower. And the other angel said, here, sniff this. So when I went to smell it, as I went, they extracted my ruh. I didn't even know I'd died. So in this riwayat, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that 500 angels come down, and one angel comes down, is sent down by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specifically to put its hand or its wing on the chest of the dying person. Why? Because when the ni'mas of Jannah are brought in front of that person, the person cannot contain himself. And if the angel had not placed his wing on his chest or her chest, the person's heart would have popped out of the person's body, and everyone would have seen it. This is Jannah, brothers. And this is what Allah Ta'ala has got in store for us. But we've got to make that effort for it. We've got to prepare for it. Not look for the Jannah in this world, because this world is very limited. It's just not possible for a person to fulfill all his desires in this world, no matter how much luxury he has. In Urdu we say, पेट भर जाता है, आंख नहीं भरती. You sit down to eat, and there's loads of varieties of food. So in Jannat, when we sit down to eat, the dastakhan, the table, will be 1 square mile. Allahu Akbar. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, every Jannati will be given the strength of 100 men in eating, drinking, and something else. If you know what I mean. 100 men. So he or she will eat for 40 years. Thousands of dishes will be bought, and thousands of varieties will be presented, and the person will continue to eat for 40 years. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, he or she will enjoy the taste of the last plate as much as they enjoyed the taste of the first plate. Allahu Akbar. What happens in the dunya? You want to eat it all, but the stomach does not allow. Pet bhar gaya, aankh nahi bhari. Your stomach is full, but the desire is still ongoing. So in the dunya we eat to fill our stomach, but it's limited. One person, he went to a dawat, and he came back and he's sprawled out on the sofa. He's like in pain, rubbing his stomach. So his wife said, what happened? So she's like telling him off. How many times do I have to tell you, keep a limit? He goes, what can I do? They had so many varieties, and there was fish as well, and there was mutton as well. I just couldn't help it. I just went all out. I thought to worry about the consequences afterwards. So she said, all this all stuff, How many times have I told you? So she goes, okay, just stay here. I'm coming. So she went off and she went and got 2 antacids tablets. And she bought that and stood next to him. So he's like, and then he looked over. He goes, what? So she goes, here, take these. So he looked at him. He goes, Pagli, agar uski jagah hoti, to ek gulab jamun ek aur kha leta. He said, if I had room for these tablets, I would have had one more gulab jamun, one more laddu. Yeah, would have had another bite. I don't even have room for that. So in the dunya, what happens is, the stomach is full, but the eye is not full. But in Jannat, we will eat to fill the eye, just for desires. 40 years a person will continue to eat, and after 40 years, a person will burp. But not like the burps that you get in Tarawees. Brace yourself, it's coming up, Buy an industrial face mask, if you have 3 months to go. We'll knock out half us off. This burp will be more fragrant than the musk of the world. And according to some people, according to their state, some people will get a sweat on their forehead, which will be a smell of musk, and all the food will be digested. Round 2, go again. So all these namas, respected brothers and elders, have been created for us. And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has informed us about these namas. But ji aisa lagaya jeene mein marne ko Musalman bhul gaya. But we have tried to make our Jannat in this world. We came to this country, or we came into this world, and then we saw the cars and the blings and the houses and the extensions, and we started salivating over the dunya. Ghar ko to Jannat bana liya, Jannat mein ghar nahi banaya. Tried to make the house, your house, into a paradise. Got jacuzzi, got fountain, got this, got that. But brother, have you made a house for yourself in your Jannat? That's the question. And unfortunately, respected brothers and elders, in trying to acquire the dunya, we are not looking at what we are losing. All of us, we're happy. You know, if you grow up, if you're as young as me, and you grew up in the 70s, 80s, you know, one street, you know, here we couldn't find parking. In the 70s, you could park all day long. One car in one street. One telephone in one house. People had lino in their living room. Now people don't have lino in their kitchen. They said, no, gotta get proper laminate or tiles. People didn't have double glazing. People were poor. Money was tight. But people were humble. And people had more deendari in their lives. People were more generous. Hearts were big. Pockets were small, but hearts were big. But what's happened now is the ni'mat of Allah have flooded us. All of us. Now we've got ni'mats in our houses that the kings, you know, the Tudors and the Stuarts, the kings and queens of this country, they didn't enjoy those ni'mats. In December, can you imagine living in one of those castles that they lived in? Yes? How cold it must have been in there. No flush toilet, no underfloor heating. How they lived. We lived better than kings and queens. We have everything. But when the ni'mats of Allah come, the danger is that a person forgets the one who gave the ni'mats, which is what has happened to us. And we're all happy laris, dead happy, alhamdulillah, hadha min fadli rabbi, not realizing what we have lost. Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, this is a famous story, you've probably heard it, but the moral that I derive from it, I'll tell you at the end. Isa alayhi salam was a great prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And at his hands many miracles were performed with the qudrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So one day he was walking along and a person came to him. So Isa alayhi salam liked to stay on his own, in solitude, and travel on his own. But one person came to him and said, Hazrat Maulana, yeah, Isa, please, can I join you? Please, can I join you? I want to benefit from your company. I want your du'as and your prayers and everything. So Isa alayhi salam said, look, I'd rather travel on my own, but if you're insisting, then okay. But only an honest person can travel. He said, because I'm dead honest and never told a lie in my life. So okay, come on, let's go. So Isa alayhi salam had a cloth, and inside the cloth he had 3 tandoori rotis, 3 naans. So Isa alayhi salam gave him those for safekeeping. Then Isa alayhi salam, when he engaged in his salat, in his worship, the person took out one and ate it. So then they started traveling again. Then Isa alayhi salam, when he became hungry, he said, okay, come on, let's eat. So when he opened the thing, there were only 2 naans in there. So Isa alayhi salam said, there were 3 in here. I said, no, this is how you gave it to me. I've not even opened it. So Isa alayhi salam, there were definitely 3 in there. No, there were only 2. So Isa alayhi salam said, okay, no worries. Okay. So they ate a little bit and then carried on walking. As they were walking, Isa alayhi salam said to him, he said, tell me, please, I'm not going to do anything. Tell me, who took the 3rd one? He said, no, Wallah, Billah, Tallah, it wasn't me. Qasam, it wasn't me. He said, okay. So then they came upon a river and there was no bridge or boats to go across. Isa alayhi salam grabbed his hand and walked over water with him. When he got to the other side, the person was shell-shocked, amazed. He said, I ask you in the name of that Allah who has shown you this miracle, where did the 3rd roti go? Who took that? He said, Wallah, I don't know. So, okay. Carried on walking. Then Isa alayhi salam caught a deer and then he slayed and then he cooked the meat. And then after they had eaten, he collected the bones and then he made dua and he came back to life and he ran off. So the person was amazed. Isa alayhi salam said, I ask you in the name of that Allah who showed you this miracle, who took the 3rd one? He said, Wallah, I don't know. It's okay. Carried on walking, they came to a beach. So Isa alayhi salam took some sand and some water and he made 3 bricks, big bricks. And then he made dua to Allah and they turned into gold. And that person was, wow. So Isa alayhi salam said, I ask you in the name of that Allah who showed you this miracle, who took the 3rd one? He said, Wallah, I don't know. It wasn't me. It's okay. Isa alayhi salam said, one of these bricks is mine. One is yours. And a 3rd one belongs to the person who took the naan. He said, that was me. That was me. So Isa alayhi salam said, listen, you take all 3. I don't need you. I don't want your company. I can't trust you. Now the moral I derive from this story is that this person did not look at what he is losing. He's losing the companionship and the sohbat of a great prophet, the love of a prophet, the du'as of a prophet, the trust of a prophet. He didn't look at that. He's just happy that he's got 3 gold bricks. In the same way, respected brothers and elders, we are not assessing our lives in terms of what we are losing. A person was regularly spending time, never missed his 40 days, never missed his 3 days. Now the money is rolling in, now it's hit and miss. Before he was praying his namaz, all the time, first off, when he first came to England, he didn't have a job, so he's always, Ya Allah, Ya Allah. And now he's got the money coming in, so his salat is gone, his zikr is gone, his tilawat is gone. But he's happy because the money is coming in, just as that person was. And if we are like that, brothers, then the conclusion is not going to be good. As it was not for this person. What happened to this person? He was happy, he had the gold and he walked off. He said, Khudawez, okay, see you later, to Isa alayhi salam. Not crying, not despairing that, look, I've just lost the forget this gold. This is not success. Success was with him. But he just went for the gold. And then he's trying to hide the 3 bricks. And by 2 people came along. They were robbers. And they saw, and so they came to him and they pulled out daggers and they said, listen, give us the gold. So he said, whoa, go easy. Listen, let's just make a gang. There's 3 bricks. You can have one, you can have one, I can have one, and we'll make a gang. And we'll go robbing people. Come on. So he said, okay. Honor between thieves, as I said, honor amongst thieves. So, okay, they made a gang, so he split it. But now these 2, they were thieves at the end of the day. They're greedy. They're thinking, man, we could have had 1.5 each if we got rid of this guy. In the meantime, this guy is grumbling under his breath. So if it wasn't for these guys, I'd have 3 bricks. He's greedy as well. So by and by, those 2, they hatch a plan. They said, well, why don't we send this guy to get some food? So after a while, they said, oh, we're hungry. Why don't you go get some food for us? We'll wait here. So he said, They said, listen, just take your brick as well. Just if you think that we're going to rob you, take your brick with you as well. So he said, okay. So he went to get the food, but on the way he's hatched a plan. And in the meantime, these guys have hatched a plan. They decide that when he comes back, we'll hide in the tree, and when he comes, we'll ambush him, we'll kill him. Then his brick is half ours. In the meantime, that guy's hatching a plan as well. That I'll buy him food, I'll buy him chicken tikka kebabs, chicken tikka masala, I'll show them masala dosas, and I'll buy some cyanide as well. So he poisons the food. So he comes with the food, and he's looking, where have you gone? And then they jump out of the tree, and they ambush him, they kill him. And then they give high fives to each other. So he's dead. They sit down to eat, they eat the food, and they're dead. And by and by, Isa alayhi salam walks by that way, and he finds 3 gold bricks and 3 dead bodies. And he says, this is the reality of the dunya. Treacherous dunya. Abandon you at the 11th hour. So respected brothers and elders, we have to assess our lives. Where am I going? What was I supposed to be doing? What am I gaining? Okay, dunya is all well and good, the ni'mats of Allah. But at what expense am I earning this dunya? How much am I losing in order to acquire? How much am I losing in terms of deen? One person bought in Bolton, one person got a car, 60,000 pounds. Everyone's like, oh, nice wheels and everything. So somebody showed me a picture. I said, he got ripped off. Paid too much for it. Cost him too much. So I said, no, it's a good price, Masa, you don't know anything about cars. You stick to your $2,000 car, So I said, listen. He said, no, Masa, market value is 80 grand. He got a good deal. I said, no. Even if he got a good deal, he still got ripped off. He paid too much. It's too expensive. He said, no, Masa. I said, listen, I wish him all the best. Allah, wapara, nasib kare and all that. But I said, the price tag is just too high. No, Masa, it's only 60 grand. I said, no. There's another price tag that you're not looking at. There's another price tag that you are not looking at. That the taxman does not know about. That his accountant doesn't even know about. So what's that? How many salat has he missed in order to earn the money to buy the car? You got to take that into equation as well. Isn't it? How much Quran tilawat has he missed? How many 3 days in Jamaat has he missed? How many 40 days has he missed? That also adds up. I said, I wish him all the best, but that is cost him too much. Because I grew up with him. We used to play together. We live in the same town. We don't live too far from each other. 35 years, I have never seen him in any masjid. And there are many people like that. So is it worth it? The dunya that you're going to leave behind, you're doing it at the expense of your akhirat? Is it even worth it? Hazrat Maulana Umar Paranpuri Sahib Rahimahullah used to give an example. He used to say, we Maulvis or we Tabligis, we people of deen are not stopping you from earning dunya. Some people think, oh, Maulvi Sahib, just because you tried your hand in business and it failed, and you're just because it doesn't work for you, that's why you're depriving us. Maulvi Sahib, khud se nahi hota, isliye hame rokte hai. Maulvi Sahib said, no, that's not the case. We wish you all the best, we wish you more barakah. But we are not stopping you, and your deen, your Islam is not stopping you from earning dunya. Then he gave a beautiful example. He said, one time a person, a Nawab Sahib, a rich man, he's sitting in his house on a Sunday afternoon, and his wife and girls have gone out. Only his young son, about 9-year-old, is at home with him. All of a sudden there's a knock on the door. So he goes to open the door, and his rich friends have arrived, unexpectedly. Surprise. So now the millionaire club has come together. So this person is, oh, mashallah, yeah, come in. And he welcomes them and he sits them down. Although he's very happy that his friends have come, but he's also a bit perturbed, a bit anxious. So his son understands that dad's looking a bit worried. So the son steps up and he understands why dad is looking worried. He said, Papa, if you say, shall I make tea for the guests? That was the worry, that my wife's gone out, daughters have gone out, so how am I going to entertain them? So the son, at that age, kids are eager to please their dads. When they get a bit older, they go all do lali. But he said, Dad, shall I make tea? They said, oh, mashallah, yeah, beta, go. So all the guests now, they're praising the son and praising the dad. You've trained him well. Wow, mashallah. So that father's feeling dead proud. The son goes off and it takes him time, but after about half an hour, he brings a tray with the nice best cups and everything from the cabinet, and he brings the tea and non-khatai biscuits and everything, and he puts it down. So all the guests, all these millionaires now, they started drinking the tea, and the tea is top-notch, really nice, because when you have English tea, it's very easy. Boil the kettle, put the tea bag in, and you're done. But when you got desi tea, you don't just make it, you cook it. Chai patti, you got to, and everyone has a different technique as well. In Jamaat, you always get a dodo. No, Masam, don't do it like that. Masam, put the milk in the water, not the water in the milk. What are you doing, Masam? Come on, man, leave it out. And so everyone has a technique. So they're drinking this and really nice tea. So one of the guests asked him, Beta, how do you make this tea? Meaning, what's the technique, what's the secret? Do you boil the water, then cover the water? Do you boil the milk separately and all it? We asked him his technique. Beta, how did you make the tea? But the beta, the son, was a simpleton. So he just said everything as it was. He said, well, when you guys came and you sat down, I could tell my dad's a bit worried because my mum's not in. But then I remembered I've seen my mum making tea. So I thought, I'll try my hand at it. So I knew what to do, so I went. Now the kid, because he's simple, he's just going to tell everything. He goes, first I went and I got that saucepan and I put the water in and I put the tea in and then I lit the stove. But then, after a minute or so, the stove went off. Why? I realized that the gas canister was empty. Right? This is from the old days. It goes gas. So I thought to myself, what do I do now? I can't go and tell my dad, millionaire, there's no gas in our house. So I thought, what do I do? Oh no, izzat ka sawal hai. Then I remembered, the mom sometimes, when there's no gas, she burns logs. So I went to the log cupboard. I opened that, and I only found one twig in there. It was empty. I thought, oh no, what do I do? So I'm running around, and then I realized, I remembered that paper burns well. So he said, I went running around the house looking for paper. So because I only found yesterday's newspaper, that's not enough. So I kept on running around. And then, Dad, you know that room of yours that you always keep locked? Today, because the gas came, in your hurry, you forgot to lock it. And I went in there. And you know that metal cupboard that you have that you always keep double locked? And even mom doesn't know the code to it. You left that open. And there were stacks and stacks of paper in there, so I just took a few bundles and burned that and made the tea. So all the gas now, they're like... The father's crying, and the father's beating the son up. And all the guests are like now shouting at him, Battamiz, Nalaik, and all this. Then the kid, he's crying. And he's saying that, man, you guys, I don't understand you guys. First you tell me to make the tea, then you praise my tea, you say it's really nice, then you ask me the technique, and when I tell you, then you start beating me up and abusing me. What's wrong with you people? Am I not supposed to make tea? So the father, in between tears, because he just lost his dunya, in between tears, he goes, Beta, चाय बनाने से कोई नहीं रोकता, लेकिन अल्लाह के वास्ते ऐसा बेरा गरक करके चाय मत बनायो. He said, nobody's stopping you from making tea, but don't do it at this expense. This is the most costly tea in the world. So Maulana used to say in the same manner, nobody is stopping us from earning dunya. But what our deen is saying is, do not do it at the expense of our akhirah. If I am earning dunya, but I'm not performing my salat, if I am earning my dunya, but I have not got time to go out in the path of Allah. In particular, especially if I was regular with spending time, but now getting older, I said to one brother, I said, you know what, I was in madrasa and you used to come from Preston. Every single year you used to come for 40 days. And I knew your situation. Your kids were ill sometimes, your wife was ill, and money was tight and all that. I said, when times were really, really difficult, you put yourself through the furnace, and every single year, without fail, for 30 years, you spent your 40 days. And now when everything's honky-dory fine, all the kids are married off, and they bought you a bungalow as well, yeah? And you've got your pension, and you've got your free bus pass, yeah? And everything is nice, honky-dory fine, now you stopped. When it was difficult, you were going, and now, when Allah Ta'ala has made it easy for you, now you're not going. No, you have to continue. We have to continue with our sacrifices, no matter what our situation, because Allah is aware of our situation. And when we will strive, then Allah Ta'ala will bless us. And why do we go out with the youngsters? I was telling the youngsters, why do we go out in the path of Allah? Our Amir Sahib, any time a Jamaat comes to our masjid, our Amir Sahib sits the Jamaat down. Why have you come? Why have you come? The answers we get are, I've come out to learn. Amir Sahib says, why do you come here? Go to Darul, you'll learn better there. I've come for my Islah. So go to a Khanqah. Yeah? I've come to rectify myself, so go to a sheikh. He tells them that all these things are value added. You get all these things anyway. Yesterday we went to one very big alim and we asked him to give us a bit of advice, and he said to us, he goes, ye kaam aisa hai, itna qeemati hai ki usme lage raho tum buzurg banoge. This work is so valuable, if you stick to this effort, you'll become a man of Allah. He said to the youngsters. But what happens is, a person, if he is giving time regularly and making sacrifices, then he will continue to benefit. Knowledge will come and his Islam will be done, humility, qualities will come into him. But there are two reasons why you go out in particular in the path of Allah. If it's only to acquire knowledge, you can do that sitting at home. If it's only to rectify yourself, you can do that in your own town. But there are two main reasons why we go out in the path of Allah. These things come anyway. The first reason why we go out in the path of Allah is because it's the purpose of our life, it's our responsibility. And we will all be asked about this responsibility. When the Ummah was going towards Jahannam, in these days, a few years ago, on the last day of a year, Christmas, New Year's Eve, they invited us to somewhere to deliver a bayan. So I asked one brother, and he got ready with his 7-seater, and got his sons and nephews and everyone, and we all went down for the bayan. So in the bayan, I don't know what I talked about, but it was just general bayan, and I talked about Iman and Amal and everything. So afterwards, the Imam Sahib next day, he messaged me. I started the bayan by saying that Alhamdulillah, on a night where people will be engaged in this country, abroad, in Muslim countries, non-Muslim countries, engaged in the most lewd and disgusting acts, nefarious acts and disobedience of Allah, on a night like that, Allah Ta'ala has gathered us in His house, in His path. So this is where I started from. So afterwards, the next day Maulana messaged me and said that, there was a kid in that gathering who, he said, he came to Maulana afterwards, 15-year-old. He said, Maulana, I was going to the club and I passed the masjid, I saw people going in, so I just came in and I just prayed Isha by accident. And then I heard that there's a talk, so I just sat there by accident. I thought I'll listen for a few minutes, then I'll go. He said the person who spoke, he mentioned about fornication or something like that. So he said that, I, as a 15-year-old Muslim, did not know that fornication and zina is haram. He said, I have been fornicating in my own house, in my bedroom. He said, my mother, Muslim parents, he said they were so liberal, my mother used to tell me to bring my friends home. So he said that I started bringing my friends home. Then my mom said to me, you're quite boring, don't you have any girlfriends? So he said, I started bringing this girl home. So we'd be sitting downstairs, talking, whatever. 13 years old he was at that time. Because my mom would say to me then, that why don't you take Samantha upstairs? Show her your Pokemon cards. So because I then started taking her into my room, showing her my Pokemon cards, initially, and then showing her something else. And then, Nauzubillah, he said, from the age of 13, in my bedroom, I have been performing zina. And my mother knew. She was aware of it. And I didn't even know it's wrong. So respected brothers and elders, this is the state of the ummah, So we have a responsibility to stop the ummah, to save our Muslim brethren and sisters. And then to go, we're supposed to be giving dawah to the non-Muslims. What is going to happen to people if they go without iman? So that's the main reason why we go out in the path of Allah, because it's our responsibility. And the other benefit that we can get by going out in the path of Allah, which we can't get anywhere else, is that our yaqeen, our iman gets made. This cannot be made by reading books or listening to lectures. This we have to strive for in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Qari Zahir Sahib Rahmatullah was one of our elders. He was a bit of a joker as well. So in his bayans he used to tell jokes and make people laugh. So one time he said that he was in an ijtima like this. And so when the tashkil took place like he's about to do now, he said, in the tashkil you're supposed to stand up and give your name, and then you're supposed to also ask the people around you. So he said that I gave my name, and then there was a person sitting in front of me. So he goes, I put my hand on his shoulder and said, Bhai, mashallah, you heard the talk, have you understood? He said, yeah. He said, Bhai, make an intention to go out in the path of Allah. So he goes, I can't go. He said, Kyun nahi? He goes, main akela hoon. He said, because I'm on my own. So Maulana was a funny person. So he goes, अकेला है फिर तो बहुत अच्छा, जब आगे पीछे रोने वाला कोई नहीं है तो फिर तो पूरी जिंदगी के लिए निकल जा. He said, I'm alone. So he goes, well, if there's no one to cry for you, if you're all on your own, then forget 4 months, go for your whole life. No one's going to cry for you, no one's going to miss you. He goes, no, you don't understand. When I say akela, I don't mean that. What I mean is that I'm alone, the breadwinner in my house. I have a wife and 6 kids. And I am the only breadwinner, I am sustaining them. So Maulana didn't give up. Maulana Sahib said, फिर तो तेरा जाना और भी ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है. तू तो 7 बंदों का रब बना बैठा है. It's even more important now. It's even more paramount that you go. Why? Because you have become the God of 7 individuals. Because your wife is thinking that you are feeding her. Your kids are thinking that you are feeding them. You're thinking that you're feeding them. But Raziq is Allah. Allah is feeding you. Allah is feeding them. So when you make arrangements for them and you go out in the path of Allah, and Allah continues to feed them and feed you, then your yaqeen and their yaqeen will be made that Allah Ta'ala is a doer. Right now all these idols are in our hearts. We have to go out in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, respected brothers and elders, to eradicate all these idols. Idol of money, of cars, of bling, of all this. We've got to eradicate from our hearts and bring the yaqeen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our hearts. And bring the importance of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our hearts. And the value of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our hearts. This is why we are told to go out in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why we are told to make sacrifices. This cannot be done sitting at home. Just as we know, if a person wants to learn how to swim, he's going to have to go into the swimming pool. He's going to have to get wet. If a person has a phobia for water and says, no, I can't get wet, let me just read all the books. Even if he does a PhD in swimming, even if he writes textbooks on swimming himself, but he doesn't go in the water, then when he eventually does go in the water, that day will be the last day of his life. He'll drown. In the same way, Deen came down not sitting in comforts. Sometimes it was raining down arrows on the Sahaba Kiram Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and the Quran was coming down. Sometimes they were walking in the scorching heat. One occasion Sahaba Kiram went out in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They walked so much that their shoes became torn. They continued walking. They got their clothes and they ripped them and tied those rugs until the rugs became torn and fell off. They still kept on walking until their toenails fell out. But they did not stop. They still kept on going. And there are so many stories of Sahaba Kiram striving out in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, making those sacrifices. Why? Because they knew that the deen needs sacrifices. Allah ta'ala can give hidayat like that. But the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that when we will give sacrifices, somebody somewhere is giving sacrifices, so somebody somewhere is getting hidayat. If we will give sacrifices, what are our sacrifices? Giving up our holidays and eating simple food and sleeping on the floor. There's nothing. But when we will make those sacrifices, then what will happen? Allah Ta'ala will take pity on us, and then Allah Ta'ala will give hidayat, and then hidayat will spread all around. And then people, as our Amir Sahib always says, that Musalmano ko, benamazi ko masjid ka rasta milega. When we will make sacrifices, when we will go gasht, and we'll walk these streets with zikr, what will happen? Allah Ta'ala will spread the light of Iman. So, benamazi ko masjid ka rasta milega. The person who is not performing salat, he'll find the way to the masjid. A person who is living opposite the masjid, does he not know where the masjid is? His brain does, but his heart doesn't. That's why he can't make his way to the masjid. But when the effort of Iman will be made, his heart will be illuminated. And then the Muslims will find the path to the masjid, and non-Muslims will find the path to Iman and Islam. But for that, the sacrifice is needed. Sahaba Kiram, Ahlullah, people in the past, they gave these sacrifices. In this country, alhamdulillah, the elders in the past, they gave sacrifices. How many stories can I tell you of their sacrifice? There are so many sitting here also. So many have gone in their graves, Allah Ta'ala grant them Jannah. They had a standard and they gave so many sacrifices. And because of that, we have all of this, madrasas and masjids and markaz and everything. But now it's become stagnation. We've stopped. We're happy, mashallah, 3 days, inshallah 5 days, inshallah. I'm ready for 5 days, but I've got to come back every day, inshallah. Come on, bro, what are you talking about? This kind of stuff. I once joined one in Bolton. There was one, in our masjid, alhamdulillah, we have a policy. You go in Jamaat, you don't take your phone. If you don't like it, go with someone else. So alhamdulillah, last year, 10 days Jamaat came here, and in that Jamaat, everyone was a newbie, and they didn't bring their phones. So by the end, every one of them had delivered a good bayan. A morning bayan, adab bakash as well, evening bayan as well. And every single one of them had given dawat on the doorstep. Because they spent their time well. And they didn't take their phones. So in our masjid we have that policy. So in another masjid in Bolton, they asked me, they goes, why don't you come Jamaat with us? Why don't you come Jamaat? So I said, okay, one weekend I'll come with you guys. So I went, and mashallah, it was quite a leafy kind of area, posh area. So, a lot of professionals there. So, there's doctors and psychologists and all these mechanics and everything. And mashallah, they came, and really nice people and everything. So at the end, they asked They did everything, they tried to do everything to the best of their ability, and then they wanted my analysis. They said, what do you think? I said, mashallah, you got beautiful brothers, and mashallah, all your amals are good, ta'aleem and everything like that. One thing I don't like about your Jamaat, they said, what's that? I said, in Bolton, our Morrison's has got a revolving door, which is the entrance and the exit as well. So I said, you guys, you've got your revolving door, I don't like that in your Jamaat. He said, what do you mean? I said, somebody's coming, somebody's going, somebody's coming, it's a weekend Jamaat. And one person, he's ready from Friday night, Saturday morning, I've got to go again. Then 1 hour later, somebody else comes, oh, mashallah, you're joining the Jamaat till tomorrow. No, I've got to go 6 o'clock again. Coming and going. I said, come on, brothers. He said, no, I'm busy. I said, okay, you shouldn't have come out this weekend then. Find another weekend when you could give full waqf sacrifice and go out for 3 days. That is Qurbani. And Hafiz Patel Sahib Rahmatullah used to say, Qurbani kya hai? Qurbani dar asal, Qurbe Rabbani hai. What is Qurbani? Qurbani is an excuse to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we can all give Qurbani, but because of our luxuries. And Hafiz Sahib, another last thing, Hafiz Sahib used to say, Mahmud bhai, you remember, he used to say this all the time, Tumhare aish ke naqshe tumhe nikalne nahi dete. We've made our lives so comfortable that we just can't give it up. A person's got underfloor heating and his bed's heating up as well. How's he going to sleep on the hard masjid floor? I mean, he's got his wife beck and call. Pani puri, dosa, this, that, everything. And he's getting menus. How's he going to? And then Hafsab gave an example. He goes, I went somewhere in Jamaat, and he goes, I need to go to the bathroom. So the person, he had a really posh house. So he goes, he took me to the bathroom. He goes, I'm sitting there, I'm looking. He goes, मैं toilet में बैठा हूँ या किसी महल में बैठा हूँ? Am I sitting in a palace? Am I sitting in a toilet? So we have so many luxuries. That's what's stopping us. But we have to take the plunge, brothers. We have to make the sacrifices because the ummah is thirsty. The ummah needs us. People are now leaving Islam. We used to hear about that in the past. We used to hear that, in such and such country. When I was a kid, my father used to tell us a story about people in Russia who left Islam. Now it's on our doorsteps. I said to somebody that, if you're absolutely honest with yourself, you will know somebody in your extended family or in your orketas, in your friends or somebody who's left Islam. Or maybe not declared it, but you know that there's nothing in there. So this is a need of the time, brothers. The ummah needs us. People are drifting away. People are going towards Jahannam. And Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gave his own examples. He said that my example is like a person who lit a fire on a dark night and then moths started flying from all sides because they thought that our salvation and comfort is in this fire. And he said that the man who lit the fire, when he sees the moths coming to their death, he's waving a cloth around trying to save them. He said, my example is the same. People, by committing sins and luxuries and pleasures, they're going towards Jahannam and falling in. And I'm trying to warn them and save them that no, this world is not the real world. The real world is coming. Jannat is coming for you. Make your sacrifice here. You'll get your Jannat there. So brothers, make intention, inshallah, to go out in the path of Allah. Our houses in Jannat are waiting for us. Our palaces are waiting for us, brothers. The delay is from us. Make intention, inshallah, brothers, to go out in the path of Allah. In the Bayan of one elder, he said something very simple, but it's a point for us all to reflect because it applies to all of us. He said, if somebody puts on their shoes the wrong way round, puts the left foot in the right and right in the right shoe in the, so what will happen? Because he's messed the order up, walking becomes very cumbersome, isn't it? So he said, in the same way, when we have messed the order, natural order of things up in our lives, walking the path of life has become very difficult for us. Our lives have become very cumbersome. Why? Because the order of priority, number one, should have been deen. But we put it somewhere way back there. Our elders say, "Hum to apna bacha kucha waqt gash mein dete hai." When we are completely exhausted from the office, from work, then we come and we do a few mulaqat and stuff. So because we've changed our priorities, that's why life has become so narrow and so difficult for us. And in order to rearrange that arrangement and to set it right, this is why we have to go out in the path of Allah. So come brothers, keep your intention.